let's go back to that rise in benefits of 1%. So it is a rise in cash terms, as economists would say, but it's not as fast as inflation. Let's talk to someone affected by it. Carol from Southampton. Hello, Carol. You receive child benefit, that's right?
I do at the moment.
How much do you get? Just give us a sense of how much you get and how much of your family income it represents.
Well, it's £2,250 a year for 3 children under 16.
3 children, so it's a big deal.
It's our family holiday. Yep.
Okay. How much have you worked out? How much you're likely to lose with this only 1% increase?
Lose a lot because my husband has just crept into the 60,000 salary, and I don't work.
Okay. So,
well, obviously that's not the main impacts of benefits yesterday. That's a much pre-discussed
another policy,
issue.
yeah, that's coming
of course, the big argument and the anger that's happening over child benefits isn't so much that it's going away, that the unfairness. Do you work, Carol?
No, I have nowhere to leave the children. I don't have family nearby that can care for the children. My husband works in the city, so gets in late in the evening, and I would actually be working at a loss in the school holidays and inset days if I worked.
Well, of course, the issue that people talk about here is the fact that, therefore, you have total family income of £60,000.
Yeah.
And if you and your husband worked with £30,000 income each, you would not lose your child benefit. In fact, you could have 2 people working both on £49,999, which is total income £100,000, getting child benefit, and you don't. By the way, do make sure your husband has checked whether childcare vouchers are available at his work, which may be something that you could help yourself with. That's where you can pay for childcare from his gross income, which at £60,000 means he's a 40% taxpayer. It will give you, could be worth about £1,000 a year for you. I'll have to do the exact numbers on that. But yeah,
okay.
I have to say, Dom, that isn't the main bit of benefits
Indeed.
that people are talking about here.
Yeah, let's talk to Phil Agolnik, who's a benefits expert and director at Entitled To, which is a provider of online benefit calculators. Phil, it seems like a sort of a blanket rise for working age benefits of 1%, but are there people that will lose out more than others?
The big thing that's going on with benefits in April is this 1% rise instead of what people would have been getting, which was meant to be 2.2%.
Which is the CPI inflation measure.
That's right. But what's also going on in April are 3 other really important changes. One is the benefits cap for people who have got large families and are getting more than £500 a week. A second change is if you live in a housing association or a council property and you have a spare room, then there'll be a penalty in your housing benefit for having that spare room. And a third change is towards help with council tax, which is being localised, and your local council are likely to start asking for a small bit of money. So lots of people who are unemployed don't pay any council tax at the moment. From April, you might have to pay £2 or £3 a week to your council tax, even if you're unemployed. So on top of the squeeze on benefits, there's those extra outgoings for many people.
And it's a simple point to make, but it's some of these below inflation rises there'll be more than one that affect people. Some people could have 2 or 3 hitting them at the same time.
Yeah, benefits are going to go up. Your income will go up by 1% next year if you're on working age benefit. Meanwhile, prices are going to rise more rapidly, fuel prices are going to rise more rapidly, and you might have these extra costs, such as paying for council tax for the first time. So you're going to be a lot worse off.
Let's just make this clear for a second, because people get confused about the impact of inflation. So the reason this is a real terms cut, let's say you're currently buying a shopping trolley's worth of good that costs you £100. With inflation next year, the same shopping trolley will cost you £102.50. Now, let's say that you've been given £100 in benefits. The same benefits next year, you will have £101. So your £101 will not buy the shopping trolley that you're currently buying at £100, because that's going to cost £102.50. And that's what we mean by a real terms cut. You simply do not have the purchasing power that you did. Now, one of the confusions about benefits out there is the big problem for me is we talk about this benefit cap. I think that hits around 60,000 people. That's this £26,000 a year figure that people get very vexed about. How dare somebody on benefits, unemployed, get £26,000 a year? I earn less than that and I work. But I think what many people on benefits get annoyed about is very few people are actually getting that amount of money. Phil, I know this is a virtually impossible question. Can you paint a picture of what somebody who has no work will typically be living off in different circumstances at the moment?
OK, so if you're single, you get £71 a week to live off. And if you're in a couple, you get £111 a week to live off. And that's to meet your fuel costs, your food, any other expenditure you have. The thing that you don't have to meet at the moment is your rent and your council tax. However, as I said, that is actually going to change for many people in April.
So it's certainly, for most people on benefits, it is not. It's really important people understand this, because I think, unfortunately, the political argument is confused by this. I think most people on benefits are not close to getting 26 grand a year. I mean, many of them have less than £10,000 a year coming in, including housing gains. So we need to just put it all in perspective. And, of course, this is a real terms cut, which means they're getting less. They effectively will be able to have less than they have right now under the cut.
OK, Carol, your husband works in the city, earns a good wage. It's probably fair, isn't it, that perhaps you shoulder a slightly greater burden than the sorts of people we were hearing with no work, who perhaps are earning £100, £150 a week through benefits. Do you accept that?
Yep. This is the argument we had with our local MP, which was then escalated up to Ian Duncan-Smith, and we got letters back saying that we had to, in effect, help those worse off than us to get by. We understand that. We're not on the breadline. We're talking about doing without a family holiday and going camping instead, which isn't a tragedy. Our argument is more of an ethical one of governments frequently talk of family values, of the importance of both parents being there for the children and father figures and all this stuff. And we made a conscious decision to put our family first by one of us staying at home. And we feel that we're being penalised, whereas people who both go out to work...
Even if you were just spending the money on a family holiday and not perhaps on slightly more urgent expenditure.
I accept that, but the unfairness of it for me is in people who are both going out, as you said, and earning £49,000 each and still claiming benefit. Those are the people that it's unfair.
Sure. OK.
Yeah.
All right, Carol. Thank you for making your point. Carol from Southampton. Phil Agolnick, a benefits expert and director at Entitled To. Thank you very much for joining us, those benefits. Lots of changes coming in April that weren't even announced yesterday. We'll be covering them on the consumer team over the next few months, to be sure. Let's have, though, first, the roads from Orna. What's happening?